Hi guys, welcome to the improvement season. It is me, Steve Hall. I was like looking directly here and I was like, oh, I should look at the camera because it is at this funny angle for me. Hopefully we'll actually be able to record today as we attempted yesterday a few times and it all failed, but hopefully now the internet is going to be stable. And I guess for a lot of people, the internet is like such an imperative part of people's like lives. Like people work from home, a lot of people now since the kind of the pandemic. And for us, like, I don't even know how I, for a year or however long was in Clapham, as we were just talking when I lived in Clapham. I don't know how I ran the podcast. I can remember having interviews with people and the internet breaking up and just being like, I don't really know what you said for the last like minute, but I'm just going to kind of roll with this and go with it.
Was it really like this?
There was like,
because you felt so embarrassed or like,
it was like embarrassment. Like I was just awkward. I was just like, sat there just going red like shit. I don't really know what you said. I'm gonna try and roll with this.
So funny, Steve, because I think it was last week actually, I was thinking about, okay, what can I do to further promote things, and we are always then coming up or trying to come up with new ideas, and it's not just like copy the latest trends and so. Sure. And I was actually taking a look at our podcast and I thought about kind of clipping together the intro of all of the episodes, but it's a shit ton of work, and I'm not a programmer, because you could easily probably write a program and a bot to then just like extract the first 5 seconds or so of a video. But I was thinking and taking a look at the first episodes and then also the progression over the last couple of years of how much the quality also has changed and improved. And you would think that it's already such a long time ago because it feels like ages, but it's just a couple of years now.
Yeah. It's I was just reflecting on like where I think you were working from a laptop when you initially started, right? You were doing everything from a laptop and you were standing on top of like books and stuff, or did you have a desktop from the get-go?
I had a desktop as well. Okay. But for me personally, I wanted to have a standing desk. So sometimes I was standing by the window where we also had our job interview.
Oh, was it?
And you also then told me like that I got the job, I got the position. I was then jumping around and all that kind of stuff.
Oh my gosh, that feels like absolutely ages ago. It's just like me, who I couldn't hold it back. I was just like, I think before that call even occurred, I was just like, Pascal's already got the job.
And here we are now.
Yes, and here we are. So using that old MacBook, and I can remember, I don't know if the microphone picked it up, it probably did. Like it was whirring because I was just using Apple headphones at the time as my microphone. And I can remember the thing like going crazy during, like I could almost hear the laptop whirring as much as the person talking.
Yeah. It's crazy. And you just said it about the internet, that it has become such an integral part of our daily lives. We really take it for granted whenever we have then shitty internet, which is something that we had on the weekend. So at the apartment where we've stayed over the weekend, they had internet connection there, but it was so shitty that I've used my 4G because it was much, much better and much more reliable. And it just goes to show, I was just like sitting there connecting to their internet connection and be like, there's hardly anything that really annoys me as much as poor internet connection. It's crazy, isn't it?
Yeah. It's such first world problems, isn't it?
It really is. It really is.
We grew up in an age of dial-up. Like you'd have to, like you couldn't use the phone because you wouldn't have mobiles. You'd have to put your house phone.
I was just saying to Katie the other day, do you still remember the time when you had to actually then call the home of your friends and the parents were picking up? It was awful. And that's probably why our generation hates it so much to actually then call people. Because it's a deeply ingrained bad experience that we had in our childhood to actually then call people at home.
I can't, like, it's just, it's so crazy how fast that feels. Like an age ago, like it never even happened. And like you don't have house phones anymore. No. And my parents still have a house phone. Yeah, I don't really know what, like I think they still get some calls there, but I never ever call my house phone. Like it would be weird to, I call my dad's phone.
I have a number, but we don't even have a house phone attached to the router. So
yeah, exactly. So it's just, how times have changed. But so far so good. This is yesterday. It didn't last this long, my internet. So hopefully it's going to continue.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
And it was like you were talking about, and I've obviously had a bit of a mare of technology this week with my iMac getting, I think it's called like the white screen of death, if people have heard of it. It was like a prohibited sign, and I can't even erase it and like download Mac OS again. So I've kind of completely lost that. I'm hoping I can use it. I don't know. I might be able to. I need to figure out. I think I'll send this to you as well. I don't even know how you like delete all the stuff off it, and you don't want to just chuck it away because there could be something on there that could be valuable information about me that I don't want someone else to have. Anyway, I'm gonna have to figure that out. But you were saying how kind of like it's such an investment, like to have like a speedy, like even getting a bigger screen, my productivity at work just improved because I could have like two things open at once and I could see things more clearly on like looking over spreadsheets. It wasn't like I had to like keep swiping to see data. I could see more on my screen and I just worked more efficiently. And so it's the same with like a good internet connection. So you were saying it like, and I was like, is there a way, what internet connection have I got? Can I actually improve this? I might look into seeing if I can like pay another, I don't know, £10 a month to get even speedier internet. Because yeah, it's nothing worse than having unreliable, not good, efficient, speedy internet, especially for a podcast. Like I don't like, you can do it with crappy internet, but it just downgrades everything.
Absolutely. I mean, you're an online personal trainer and this is your working space. This is your, I don't know, company or the location that people are then approaching you at. It's like having a facility, and that is what I even said it to you, right? You're kind of an agency. Is it better to then have a store or a facility in the midst of the city, or is it better to then have it somewhere outside? It's probably much better than to have it in the center of a city because of the logistics. People have an easier access to get there. Probably it also looks better and all that kind of stuff. And it's kind of the same for us as personal trainers, online personal trainers, to have or to make our work as efficient as possible.
Yeah.
That's why I have like 3 screens in front of me. That's why I've built kind of another studio for kind of video recordings. Even though that I have limited space here. And also when it comes to the internet connection, I was actually looking into also getting another upgrade, which is right now not available on our in our street, unfortunately. But something like this, whenever there's an upgrade available for me, I will take it because it just makes my work a little bit more efficient, which then is a direct upgrade in quality then that I can guarantee for my athletes as well.
Yeah, it's like I was saying yesterday, it's very easy to focus on, it's investments into the business, actually. That's what it is. That's exactly what it is. It's very easy to look at it and say, oh man, do I need to buy, I don't know, that new camera? Or because I'd always buy, joked about iPhones. I like an iPhone, but I'd always get like the iPhone down. I'd never get the bet. I still haven't. I still don't get like the top of the top iPhone. Yeah. Maybe I don't need to, but I used to get like the old iPhone, like the edition before, because it would cost less. But if that iPhone, the newer one, has better photos, that helps promote us better on various platforms, and it all comes back to you eventually. So if you can work more efficiently, maybe like on my old computer with that old internet, I could only work with 20 clients because I was having to record videos, having to, what's it called? You'll laugh at this. I had to compress the videos and then upload them, and they'd upload so slowly. So like I was just, all of these things handicapping me. Whereas if you can have speedier internet, you have a better computer, a better system, you can do everything more efficiently, like your productivity is better, like all of that good stuff. So yeah, I very much see it. And you've helped me with that, as seeing these things as investments, and it's fine because where else am I kind of, I guess, putting that money? Like otherwise overheads are really cheap for us. It is like the internet connection and living like being at home.
I mean, if it's just for private usage, I think then you need to live with maybe having, I don't know, I think then it's not as important to then have kind of the latest tech, for example, to make your work a little bit more efficient, because when you're just doing it for, I don't know, hobby things or anything alike, then you don't need a fancy hardware or anything alike, or a super fast internet connection. But if you, such as ourselves, upload like a decent amount of gigabytes throughout the entire week of video footage and I don't know, also podcast episodes, then I want it to be as fast as possible so that I know the saying is weird, but kind of it really applies here. Time is money.
Yeah. Time is, I mean, it's funny because time, it is funny, a funny saying, because time is actually more valuable than money. And also you can't buy time back with money, but you can buy things that make your time more efficient. So you kind of can buy it back by having speedier internet or whatever. Yeah. So yeah, anyway, that's a bit of a rant on my own about technology. And sometimes it's like when I moved from Clapham and we moved to like the internet that we got in Vauxhall, it was just incredible, the difference in speed. I was just like, I can upload a video in seconds, and before it would take like half an hour to upload this like pixelated quality video. So yeah, and then that means, I can record higher quality footage for my athletes. They can actually see what I'm like doing on my spreadsheet or whatever and reviewing things. So it's a better service for them. Yeah, it all comes back to you at the end of the day.
I think because it's kind of something that we've already touched on, I think 2 episodes ago, with the example of the fat guy who's actually getting all of the gear for bicycle riding, when never in the last 10 years he has done a bicycle ride, and then he's getting all of the fancy equipment, carbon fiber frame for the bike, and everything costs like £20,000 or so, and then he's just like riding it once per week or whatever, you know. Then of course it doesn't make you a better bicycle rider, and the same applies then to also a personal trainer. You don't need the most fancy equipment in order to get things done, of course. It's more about knowing how to then get the most out of the equipment that you have, and then at some point, if you need them further capacities or resources, then I think it's valuable of them making that decision of maybe upgrading things. But it's not that this is the requirement for a starting point to actually make a great job.
No, and I mean, it says it's in its own right. Like, I was using the laptop for like the first few years of my time in the industry and recording podcasts that I had from uni, and that lasted like 5 years. And I would use Apple headphones. Like, you got to get it done with the tools that you have at your disposal. Work really well with those, and then, but do slowly try and upgrade, which is what we like. I can't imagine still trying to do what I do on that old laptop.
No,
whirring away.
I also think that the competition is way too good nowadays. It's kind of applies also to kind of YouTubing. People said in the past, all you need is kind of like a phone and then you can start recording yourself. But is that really so nowadays? I mean, when your content is super unique, I could see that working out, but then you are one out of, I don't know, tens of millions of people who want to make it. I think having then a decent amount of quality is nowadays kind of already a necessity for something like this to stand out, to have a decent skill there. And it can be sometimes quite tricky then.
Yeah, I think it's YouTube's a good example. I know I follow a few YouTubers like Joffrey. I think it's Joffrey Schofield. I might be saying his name wrong, so sorry. JS, I'll call him JS, Mr. JS. I know he comments on our videos now and then, and I keep up somewhat up to date with his stuff, more so over like Instagram, and obviously like Dave McConey and Abel as well, and kind of looking at some of their stuff. I think natural hypertrophy is not like I don't know if you've seen his videos. He's French. Some of the listeners might know who he is, but he's kind of in this zone of those guys. They talk to one another, and I find their chats interesting because they're kind of similar age to us and they do what we do, but more so natural hypertrophy and also Joffrey or JS, JS, they like his quality of footage from what I've seen. I haven't seen very much, and I apologize if I'm wrong, but I reckon if he leveled up that even more, that would be like, because his quality of content is good. He talks well. He's interesting as a character. He talks about decent like goings on within the industry, and he's grown really well on YouTube from what I've seen. But like to get to like a Jeff Nippard type of standard and level, like to reach that many people, which I don't see why you wouldn't want to reach that many people. Like, it might be that you'd have to go that far and invest that much, because you can do a lot, but then there is that barrier of like, how do I get through this kind of growth barrier? Like, I'm putting out all this information, I've got a good base of following like we do. How where's that next step? Where's that next level? What's going to take us there? Because the quality of like the podcast, I would like the guests we have on speak for themselves. Like, they're great guests. It's like, how do we reach a wider audience with that? maybe would, and bodybuilding's niche, right? But there's still so many bodybuilders that will not have heard of, and natural bodybuilders that will not have heard of this like our podcast.
Yeah, I think at some point you have to make the decision of what it is that you want to become, whether it is a coach, whether it's a content creator, whether it's an influencer, or kind of a combination of those 2, 3, all of them together. I think that if you want to do a great job in becoming a coach, you can't really be a good content creator either. That's why back then, I still remember I'm working with one of my athletes ever since 2018 by now. He was coming from Jeff Nippert. Yeah, that was the decision, or that was the time when Jeff made the transition to full-time content creator, because he said that he can't possibly do all of those things, so being a good coach and a content creator at the same time. And I think it speaks for himself, for him, because you could easily be like a cash grabber of like, oh no, sign up for my coaching, and then you are actually not coaching, you're just handing out cookie cutter programs, and you just abuse and take advantage of the following base. And he was like very upfront about it and saying like, okay, I can't do this. And that's why I'm referring my athletes out to other people, and I'm solely focusing on doing good content. And that's something that I think at some point probably it has to be that way. And that's also, though, why I do believe that most content creators, they may have a very good knowledge about things, but may not be the best coaches. Yeah. Because they don't have the experience, and they are not working on a consistent basis with a lot of individuals, and thus they don't have the sample size to actually then make good calculated decisions around those kind of recommendations. It's just more so based on, I don't know, scientific literature or so, which is not necessarily bad, but I think a lot has to be said about working with a specific niche of people.
I think you're completely right. You just don't have that sample to draw upon of like hundreds of athletes that you're working with every single year. You can't solely base it off. They're mostly then basing it off their own experience. Mm-hmm. And if they are an influencer, they're probably one of those more genetically well-endowed influencers, because let's face it, you're not getting many people who are not very jacked and not very well blessed in that department who are then becoming like having huge followers. So they can be an influencer. So then they use that maybe, and at best, like it's very rare to have them combine that with scientific literature to then support like everything they're putting out there. But yeah, you're right. I agree. I don't think they'd make the best coaches. It's a super hard thing to juggle, even for us, like trying to put out, because part of being an online coach, and I think everyone listening who is an online coach, and if you're looking into it, like social media is part of the game, because you have to put yourself out there to draw people in. There's even someone like Cliff Wilson who doesn't do tons on social media. He still has to post now and then to keep relevant and stay in there. And he must have a huge kind of referral base, I imagine. And like lots of people just know his name. And obviously he has his book that he did with Peter Fitchen. But even those guys, they need to put themselves out there now and then. Same with like 3DMJ, like house natural bodybuilding name, but the guys still put themselves out there. And imagine if they just went cold turkey on all of that. I don't think they'd have half the demand, because there are people coming up who are just like, they have, I don't know, the similar passion and information that they may have, but then they're putting themselves out there every day. And it's a battle.
And to be honest, if you're calling yourself an online personal trainer, this is your gym floor. It would be the same as if you're an offline PT and you never show up to the gym and be like, just why aren't people coming to me and won't really work with me? It's kind of the same thing.
Yeah, what can you expect? And it's also a slow burn. Like you just have to keep putting yourself out there. And even to this day, like we experience, it's not like we have an influx of applications every single day. It's like you keep putting out the content, you stay consistent that way. And then you get like, I don't know, an influx at some point. You're just like, why did this happen? It wasn't due to one post or anything. It's because people are staying in touch with you, keep looking. And eventually they're like, oh, like I want something from this person. So you have to, it's definitely not easy. And I think we're trying to balance that. And I think it's just something we're trying to navigate in terms of like how much we're foremost coaches. And then the podcast is probably next in priority for us. And then it's kind of figure out like, where do we want to go from here in terms of growth and channels and prioritize various aspects.
Do you not see the progress you would like? Are you sick of writing your own programs? Or perhaps you need some accountability in order to stick with a plan? Then it's time to start working with us. We at Revive Stronger offer a truly personalized coaching service. You'll get more than just an email with some macros or random cookie cutter program. With Revive Stronger, you will be the center of our attention. You will receive your own fully individualized training protocol alongside a customized nutritional strategy. We created the coaching around your needs, wants, personal preferences, and your own unique lifestyle. Every single week, we delve into your program in order to make appropriate adjustments so that we get the most out of your time and the best possible outcome. We help both female and male athletes to seriously change their body composition by adding more muscle mass and decreasing fat tissue. No matter if you're a competitive bodybuilder or just want to look better, if you need help with your progress and taking your physique to the next level, our coaching is for you. It's time to make a change. Sign up today and let's revive stronger.
Yeah. You can always do the math and calculations yourself. As a personal trainer, but also as an athlete who's then considering working with a specific coach or so. And then how many clients do they have in their roster, for example? And how much time then or how often are they posting things over on social media or YouTube? Because in reality, if you think about it, let's just say that you're working with 40 athletes, or let's say for the sake of simplicity, 50 athletes. How much time goes into one single athlete? Let's say 1 hour per day. Per week for an athlete. And that already takes you to 50 hours of a work week. Just from having a roster of 50 people. 50-hour work week without anything else. Right? And if you then see them being highly active then on posting very incredible videos over on Instagram, maybe then also over on YouTube. They do it on a daily basis, maybe, all that kind of stuff, then of course you need to ask yourself, like, how much time do they either have available? How much money do they have available to spend to actually then outsource that work to other people? But most of the people don't have that financial freedom. Or how much time are they really spending on their clients? Right? And then you can already kind of guess what the quality of the service will look like. And I'm not calling anyone out because each and every single service may then look different, right? Because some people only hand out like macros, for example. Some people take care of programming and nutrition. Some people do different types of check-ins and so, right? But at the same time, depending on the type of service, this is one way of easily kind of asking yourself the question of what the service may look like.
I guess it's also hard because I imagine if we weren't at basically capacity of clients, you halve our numbers, then we would be putting out stuff, maybe even higher quality, more frequently out on social media because I can't say my quality was better, but I do remember a time when I was trying to grow, like heavily try and grow Revive and grow my client numbers. I think I had a note somewhere. I post on Facebook every day with a quote or some sort of like information. I'd post twice a day. For the longest time, I would post twice a day on Instagram, which is crazy to me now because I struggle to post once a day. It's not a huge struggle, but I like to post once a day. And sometimes I can't. Normally I'm posting maybe 5-6 times a week. And that's become quite habitual at this point. So it gets a bit easier. But that start, and for people who don't have those numbers, they may be able to invest that kind of quality and that content and be able to put it all out there because they just have the time. But slowly that gets taken away. But you have to keep an element of that there because even for us, like you said, if you're not on the gym floor at all, if you're not posting out on social media at all, you're not putting yourself out there. How can you expect people to come and find you apart from maybe you're lucky through just referrals? And if you're at that point or you've got a huge waiting list that's, I don't know, years in length, whatever, then you're fortunate. But or you got to put yourself out there somehow. If you're a regular podcast guest, for example, like you're golden. But people who are like that are normally like not experts, they're people in the research, or content creators. Like Mike is essentially like Mike is an educator and content creator. He doesn't coach really, like only like a handful of his friends and what have you, because like you said, you kind of have to go down a route of some sort. You can't kind of do everything to the max.
And in the first couple of years, you probably have to be kind of taking care of everything. You have to be an accountant for your business. You have to then be a content creator. You have to be the coach. And it's very, very tough to juggle it. And that's also why I do believe that many people just like stop at some point, because they realize it's maybe too much work for them to handle, especially when the influx of clients isn't there. So they can't really keep themselves on float when it comes to the financial situation. They have then to also have a side hustle as well. And it makes it then even harder to maintain all of those things and build all of those things. And then I can definitely see why it's not as appealing to sustain that.
But I think it's so important that you drew it back to, because people might look into like hear some of what we said and be like, oh my gosh, the barrier to entry for online coaching is crazy. I have to have like this fancy setup. I have to have all this lighting. I have to have like, I don't know, invest in all this like amazing internet. It's like, no, you can start from ground, like basic. You can, as long as like you're happy with the information you're putting out there, and you slowly can build up and reinvest into the business with these sort of things to then get to that point that you eventually want to be. But like we started like with fairly basic kind of setups and things like this. Like you don't need much more than a laptop and like a camera on the laptop, and like you're kind of good to go, and a reasonable internet connection. You're kind of good to go from the bare kind of basics, and then you can kind of build and develop from there. Because ultimately, none of this stuff makes the coach. It's like having the most fancy spreadsheet with all this kind of glorious graphics and everything. Like, yeah, you might have that, but if you can't coach someone, like it doesn't matter how good all of that stuff is.
I think it's important though, because some people may be asking themselves, what is it that they are talking about? But we have a lot of listeners who may consider actually becoming an online personal trainer themselves, or have done this transition and are still wondering why it's not taking off and all that kind of stuff, you know? And I think it's a tough market. It's an oversaturated market. Where it's harder and harder to actually then kind of compete against the others and get the clients, and why should they work with you? And that's why I always kind of recommend to the vast majority of people, of starting as an offline PT, because or was the limitation in the past, or as an used as an argument in the past of like, yeah, you only have your local environment to then work with. But maybe that's a good thing, because then you also only have the competition around you instead of the entire world. And if you are very well educated and listening to a podcast like ours or so, you're probably already standing out with the knowledge that you have and can shine through that. And then it's all about kind of getting clients offline, right? And if you then have a solid base there and you still want to actually maybe have a hybrid model, maybe consider making the switch to online personal training, then you can still play with it because you have already that foundation. But I always kind of would recommend for the vast majority of people to not glorify online personal training and start as an offline PT.
Yeah, no, absolutely. If you haven't got that, like, because some people coming into it they come into it and they flourish immediately, and you see that. But if you haven't got that kind of, I don't know, you haven't got that title. So it might be a PhD in a certain field, or it might be a kind of a pro title in natural bodybuilding. If you haven't got that, it's like, how then do you differentiate yourself from the huge market that's out there? And it was just funny because I draw this back to social media, because I was looking at various artists. I don't know if you do this, Pascal, but I was looking at various artists to do my next tattoo. And I was like, man, there's quite a few good ones. But the person who stood out to me the most was this guy. He posts on his social media a little bit about him and his interests and why he loves like anime and stuff. I was like, man, this guy fucking loves his craft. I understand a little bit about who he is. I feel like it would be a good time to get a tattoo from him. Like, he stands above the rest. And it's the same with like tattoo shops. Like, I follow a few, some of them like show like behind the scenes and stuff. They interact with some of the artists there. And I'm like, man, this is cool. Like, I know I get to know these people, and like, when I look outside in, like, yeah, they're both great tattoo artists, but these people, I get a bit about who they are. And so I think that's the same with like coaching, is you put yourself out there, your personality might be through this podcast. Like we put ourselves out there and people kind of get to know us a little bit, but like it's because it's such a personal experience. Like a tattoo can be a personal experience. Like you're involved with that person for like 8 hours or something, unless you completely switch off. But it's kind of, I don't know, it depends how they like to do it, how you like to do it. But same with like online personal training. Like you won't just pick someone based off, I don't know, infographics alone. You kind of want to know who's behind that. So yeah, anyway, don't know if you feel that with the tattoo thing, because I know you get tattoos, but you might not look at it like me.
No, not really. Also, when it comes to personal training, I may differ slightly from what it is that you said there, because I think that it's important that you get along with your coach, because then you're probably more bought in. When you like someone, you trust them mostly more so, right? And that is a huge and an important part of the journey of online or coaching in general, that you trust your coach. Because if you always second guess every kind of decision, then you're probably not going to push very hard and do the things that you're required to, right? Because you always then are on the verge of like, should I really be doing this? And every single time you set foot in the gym, if you're not 100% confident, you're not really pushing yourself, you know? But at the same time, a coach is there to deliver results for you, right? That's the way that I see things. And you don't have to like him necessarily, or have to very much like everything that or you don't have to know him personally. All you need to know as an athlete or client is that he is the right one for you. You trust him, and also he's able to give you the results that you're looking for. Everything else beyond that is, I think, a nice to have. It's great for the personal relationship, but I don't think that it's a mandatory thing. What do you think about this?
I don't think it's mandatory, but it's actually, this is interesting because Jake Reed from Renaissance Periodization, he's a coach for them, and I coach him. And I like apologized in my check-in because I was talking about like the issues I was having with my technology and like the setup and everything. I was like, sorry to like talk about that for a few minutes. And he replied on his email, he was like, dude, don't apologize at all. Like, I really like getting insights into your life, and it allows me to connect you better as a coach as well. And I like to do that with my clients. Obviously there's a sweet spot. And I was like, that's exactly what I was going for. I felt like I'd overstepped that sweet spot a little bit with you. And he was like, no, you didn't at all. It's like, our kind of relationship is better that way. But there's definitely like, I definitely say I'm friends with lots of my clients.
Yeah, me too.
But they are first and foremost clients, and we are about getting results. So that has to be the forefront. You can't just be like, yeah, actually, I said this on my story the other day where it was like, I can't remember what the exact specifics was, but I think it was about rate of gain. And it was like, what would you let one of your clients grow at a slower rate of gain than you'd recommend, essentially? And I was like, I talk to them why I have my rationale, what my reasons are, and I try and understand where they're coming from and see if they have any good reasons for the way they feel about it. And ultimately, if we, after that discussion, still come to the standpoint of we want to do it kind of their way versus my way, we'll do that. But with the same thing in mind of, if it doesn't go how we want it to, then we'll try it my way maybe, or try it a different way. Because if you just pander to all your clients' needs and they're just a friend, that's not what they're paying for. They're paying for results, like you said. So you've got to have that kind of balance there at least. So that kind of friendship and that kind of social and relationship side is great. Like you said, is a bonus more than anything. And sometimes for some clients, it might be imperative for the results, but not every client will be that way. Some are a little bit more robotic.
That's true. I totally agree. And this is where then you have to get to know your athlete and what it is that they need and are looking for. Some people need that personal connection and need just like sometimes even a little bit more chit-chatter in the check-ins maybe than other people. And other people think that it's then more of a waste of time, and they aren't paying you to then talk about yourself. Yeah. So it is definitely a fine line, and you can definitely also make kind of mistakes there of thinking, yeah, that person wants this, when in reality they don't, and vice versa then as well.
Sorry, you broke up a little bit, but
that's all right. I am recording on my end.
Yeah, no, that's exactly right. you have to find that kind of fine line with people, otherwise it can go the wrong way. But I think we've probably talked about that topic a fair amount in depth. We're not business coaches.
No.
We just talk about our experiences with it.
And by the way, because last episode we've made a kind of a little bit of a shout out of like, hey, people, are you still there? Leave a comment in the comment section below. And I very much appreciate that most people actually left a comment letting us know that they are still listening. It's very good to know, because on the view count, it wasn't really as apparent whether people are still tuning in and whether people are still enjoying it. And thank you very much. I just wanted to say this.
It makes me think about stories sometimes, because I'm quite present on Instagram stories, and sometimes like the view count can kind of go down or it can come up, and I'm just like, unless people are interacting with me, I'm kind of like, I don't know if people are still involved with it. I don't know if they're enjoying it. Like, you sometimes need that feedback. So it's like these, if we got to 0 comments, there could be 2,000 views, but it's like, but people, like, they might put a thumbs up, I guess, but you need that kind of feedback sometimes from people and be like, oh yeah, I see what you're saying. I know
it's crazy, Steve. Do you really think about sometimes about the numbers? Because in comparison to other YouTube channels, the view count is very, very low, right? However, if you really think about it, there are kind of 2,000 people watching it or listening to it, or something. So just here on YouTube, there are also then people listening over on Spotify. So let's say it's kind of like 3,000 to 5,000 people. How many people are this? It's crazy if you really think about it, right? So my biggest concert was in front of like 3,000 people or so. I was once on a stage where I was a tour manager for that Danish band, and it was my birthday, and they had a concert in front of 22,000 people. Right, and standing in front of 22,000 people, right, puts things in perspective of how many people that are, right? And then you have people with a view count of like in the millions. Just think about how many people that are. And also just for us, for example, right? And also your following count over on Instagram with, what is it now, 70,000?
67.
Yeah,
it's been stuck.
Just this is kind of, you're filling a stadium, a football stadium, that are just watching you and maybe listening or interacting with you. A complete football stadium. That's crazy, isn't it?
Yeah, it's sorry, I think hopefully I'm a bit more stable. That's why I don't think about it. But if every single person who watched or listened said hi, that would be like my phone is just dead. Like, it's just unusable right now. But because most people just, I don't know, you flick through it and they're not really interacting with it and they're not really taking it in. So I don't think about it so much. And I think because I don't find presenting a stress-free experience. Like, I get kind of like, I don't know, just anxious about like a crowd of 200 people, and they're all there wanting to listen to me and whatever. Like, they've paid to be there. They see me as an expert, an authority or whatever. And like, that is nerve-wracking. But putting a video out there to like any number of people could see, I don't know why it's something I never really even, it doesn't just like even go into my head, like that I might have said something stupid or it's only on reflection. Sometimes I'm like, man, that was completely like the wrong thing. I didn't mean to say that.
Yeah, I just find it very interesting because those numbers are actually quite big, not in comparison to other YouTubers or influencers, but if you just think about it in a physical sense. So if everyone was on location with you and you are doing a reel, for example, of leg press, and it has like 10,000 views, just think about it. 10,000 people around you watching a set of you doing leg press. That's crazy, isn't it?
But then, and then you get people, like you said, we're very much small fry in that regard. So then when you get people, and then some people's reels, they might have a tiny following, especially on a reel, and they could get like millions of views on this. It's just like, wow, like that's just crazy. But you just consume it and you you pass it on and it goes away. And I don't know, I'm glad I don't think about it, because if I was thinking about it, I probably would not say a word. I'd just sit there and I'd be like, no, not speaking. I'm worried I'm going to say something stupid, which happens every episode anyway. But New topic.
New topic.
You're feeling better?
Yes, it's kind of it's weird, Steve, because yesterday and today I'm feeling a little bit weird once again, like warm from the nose up to my forehead, basically. Kind of this sensation that you have when you're getting sick or when you're slightly feverish, you know. And that has been the case since like the past 2 days, and I don't know why. I honestly don't know why. Whether it's still kind of aftermath of the COVID infection, I don't know. So feeling all right. It's not that I'm suffering or can't do my work or anything alike, but it still is a little bit present. And once again, maybe it just takes a little bit longer to get finally rid of that. I can still train though. That is a good thing. And yeah, so basically that's in a nutshell. Feeling not 100% yet, but able to train hard. And that's, I think, the main thing right now.
It's just a nuisance that's like just hanging around, and you're like, man, can't I just feel 100% at some point? It's like you forget what that even feels like. Is this 100%? Is this normal now?
And yesterday, when we've tried to record the episode for the first time, I even mentioned that Steven, one of my athletes, I already gave him a shout out a couple of weeks back. He made a joke about, yeah, man, you as a parent, you should just like deload every 6 weeks because of the sickness occurs during that time frame anyway. So don't pre-plan your deloads, just take them whenever you're sick. And he has a point. And actually, I was actually considering this at some point, because it's always kind of coming every 6 to 8 weeks that I'm then catching a little bit of a cold here and there. And why not then take the deloads whenever my body actually feels like it?
Losing weight fast while maintaining muscle mass. Sounds too good to be true, doesn't it? It isn't though. It's reality, and we know how to do it, and we will help you achieve this. The Minicut Movement is an 8-week fat loss program to make you lose a huge chunk of fat while maintaining muscle mass at the same time. We will support you from the beginning to the end so that you see the results you would like to and come out of it much stronger. You'll receive a fully automated spreadsheet that is based on your nutritional needs. You can choose between 6 different male and female training templates. Over 30 videos will guide you through each and every single step of the Minicut so that you're getting the most out of your journey and that you always know what to do. But the best thing is that you can start whenever you want. The Minicut Movement is open 24/7. So if you want to learn more or you're ready to sign up, hit the link in the description below. So let's revive stronger together.
Man, I can't even imagine before you had kids, how frequently do you remember you would get a cold? Never.
It's crazy.
That's what my life is like.
Yeah.
I'm just like, Pascal's got another cold.
That's the thing though, because before I had kids, I was like, I couldn't even remember when I was like sick the last time. It's crazy. And then the kids came around, and it's like every 6 weeks.
This is, I think you've said it before, like, don't have kids if you want to make gains. It's not the route to go down.
Exactly. It is lonely though.
Lonely, yeah.
Lovely. Yeah, lovely, not
lovely.
lonely.
Well, yeah, it could be lonely not having kids as well.
Yeah.
Just have a dog. Dog doesn't make me sick. That's quite helpful. But
that's true. Not yet. Maybe
yet,
he's
anyway.
then also kind of, I don't know, catching a bat with some kind of virus, and then you're spreading it all over the planet.
I just heard that it isn't, that it came from bats, and it came from an American lab. That's
absolutely.
I'm just like, I won't get into talking about this.
Of course it did. And also, it would be, I think it would be quite offensive to say that it's coming from a bat. Bats have feelings too, probably as well.
And the bat might not even identify as a bat.
That's true. That's true.
Oh dear, I don't know why I'm going down that route. Yeah. We've got Das Gym in, what now is it going to be from Monday? It's like 3 weeks. Yeah. Just over 3 weeks away. We're going to be in Vienna.
I think we can also say when it is that we are there, right? Because if there's someone listening and during that time frame is there, please come up to us and say hi, and maybe even train with us also.
Yeah, why not? I mean, It'll be nice to make some connections, especially if there's people from that gym who are listening and they can give us some like recommendations of machines that are going to be the kill. We're going to be like kids in a candy shop. Like they would just want to try every little thing.
I'm planning in staying there from morning time to evening time, actually, because they have a restaurant there. They have a coffee bar as well. So what more do I need? Come on.
I think they even have, they might have to correct me on this, because I know they run seminars there. I think there's also places to stay. I think you can sleep.
Oh, really?
I think they have like beds and like a toilet and bathroom and showers or something.
Never seen a picture or video of this, but it could be. I would be surprised if they don't have any kind of toilets.
Oh no, yeah, of course they have toilet. I think Cliff may have said it. They may have changed it. But I think he was going there for a seminar, and he was just like, yeah, they have accommodate, like they're gonna bed me there or so. I think maybe I'm wrong.
Yeah.
But it wouldn't surprise me. I don't know how big the facility is, but I think it's probably going to be the biggest, most impressive gym I'll have ever seen and may ever see in my life. Hopefully not but because it would be great to see some more impressive
looking
ones.
forward to like a proper hack squat and a proper leg press machine. Everything else is just like...
You tried the Cybex, right? In Yorkies. You didn't like that? That's known as one of the better.
Yeah, but yours was already quite used and old, wasn't it?
It's quite old, but I don't know if... I haven't tried enough hack squats, but people... And also, I think it's the same one, or maybe it might be one version behind the one that's in MuscleWorks, which I think you may have tried that one too.
I can't really recall.
Yeah.
I know which one you're referring to. One you've also used in kind of, I think it was the first vlog episode of your prep.
Yeah. So yeah, I'll be interested. Just nice trying different bits of kit that you've never tried before. Yeah. And although it's going to be hard if you find something that you just have to connect with that you've never connected like on any other machine. I can't, in one way, I'm like, I want to go there, try all these fancy machines and things and find that they're no better than stuff I already have access to. That actually would probably be the best scenario. But I also don't want to experience that because I want everything to feel amazing. Also feel amazing.
That's true. That's true.
It's just because I know I'm going to have to somehow, right, Charlotte, find a job in Vienna. We'll go live there. I think bodybuilders have done that. It wouldn't surprise me if they just moved their life.
I already thought a couple of times if I wouldn't have my or if I were to not have a family now, I would probably also be more on a traveling spree. Especially with everything that is going on in the world. It just makes me a little bit anxious, to be very frank and honest. Especially living in Berlin. I know it's a kind of fucked up, weird thing to be thinking, but if shit goes down, then Berlin is probably not the safest place to be in Germany. I don't
London.
Yeah, I don't expect it to take place, but I mean, there's always kind of a probabilistic chance of it, right? Things are never really a black and white thing of like no or yes. And that just makes me anxious. Not so much about me, but I have some fucked up like thoughts and fears. These are kind of short clips that are being run in my head. And it's more about my kids, to be honest, right? And I would just love to be as far away from kind of potential danger as possible. And during that time, I was thinking like, fuck, we can't just pack our stuff and go somewhere else. I mean, we could, but I don't think that Katie would love that. I don't think that the kids would even love that and all that kind of stuff, you know? And sometimes it can actually be quite nice to just be free. And I don't mean it in necessarily a negative or positive sense. It's just you have some other freedoms then.
So you want to get on Menno's kind of way of doing things. I actually don't know, because Menno does it with his girlfriend. I think it's his girlfriend, not his wife. I don't think they're married. Sorry if they are, but I don't know what she does actually as a career, but it must be something she can also do mobile, if assuming she works. Then you wouldn't be able to have your desktop and set up and everything. You'd have to somehow have, like, it would be actually quite cool. You'd have to have specific tech for mobile production of these various things, which definitely exists, probably just way more expensive. Anyway, I'm sorry you have those thoughts. I think I live in a world of generally day-to-day ignorance to that, and so I try not to think about those things. And I guess it's a stoic mindset of, let's say that's the way I'm going to say it. I live in a stoic mindset of things I can't control, I don't think about.
No, absolutely.
You definitely can't control that.
I'm always thinking like ignorance is sometimes bliss, and I would love to be just like ignoring that. And I could easily do that and just not checking news and all that kind of stuff, you know. But at the same time, I also am under the belief that if I follow the news now, I will come out of it much stronger and much more stoic in the future as well, because I went through a scenario like this.
Okay, yeah.
I've followed it, and I now know that kind of what to expect. History doesn't really repeat, but it does sure rhyme, and it would probably then be the same then in the future again, if ever something like that or something similar would occur again. And that's where I'm also coming from, you know. So on one hand, I hate it to check it. On the other hand, I think that those kind of stressors, it's kind of the same when it comes to training, you know. Stress, if you recover from that, you come out much stronger and probably adapted. In the process, though, I hope that the stress doesn't really kind of killing me. It's far too far-fetched here, but it's kind of destroy me because I'm overly stressed for basically nothing really that I can control right now.
Do you have I don't know why I'm following this line of route, but I'm interested in terms of where you get your news from. I imagine you're therefore selective to find, I don't know if there's an objective news source, but more objective and less biased and potentially, I guess, don't know, not government owned, but can be manipulated news channels.
Yeah, I'm always on Telegram channels because I heard that they are as unbiased as possible and there's the only truth there. No, I'm just kidding.
Okay. I wasn't sure. I was like, okay.
No, Telegram channels or groups are often known to be very much, how should I put it, without offending anyone, more kind of conspiracy-like sometimes, okay. You know. But no, I'm that's the problem, right? I think that we are living in a world where also we are living a Western narrative, you know?
Yes.
Whether it's a positive one or a negative one, that's something that it's not up to me to decide. And I don't really want to put my tinfoil hat on because that's the world that I'm living in. But I also do believe that each and every culture does things their way and the way that they deem appropriate for probably also their people themselves. I don't think that many people are truly altruistic. And that's why if you're then growing up in a certain culture, you have certain morals and ethical takes that may not align with the rest of the world, you know? And that's why probably also the things that we are consuming are heavily biased. And I think that there is no true way of getting rid of that.
Yeah, because whoever's, it's hard to report things, and especially because news, it's in some ways it's like news articles very often are like outlandish and they're trying to get you to read the thing, and then you read it and like, oh, it isn't really that thing. It's kind of similar to like people just reading abstracts or something. It's probably similar research titles of, I think they probably often title those to kind of attract the reader. It's like, do you actually read the whole thing though? Because when you read the whole thing, it's probably not quite as kind of what it seems from the title.
At the same time, though, I'm not as a doomsday person to say like everyone is bored and everyone is, I don't know, writing because of propaganda or anything alike, because I think that that would question all of the moral and ethical views of each and every individual. And I think that this would be way too hard to control overall. So that's not where I'm coming from with this either. All I'm saying is, though, if you really think about it, you will not get an unbiased opinion on everything. And if you're then, I don't know, in a certain niche or so, probably due to the algorithm nowadays, you are being fed more and more of that as well. And it's creating your own kind of small echo chamber and bubble.
Yeah, it's, I remember because with like Brexit, everyone I was involved with and on my feed was like non-pro Brexit. And then we left and I was just like, that's not what I expected to happen, but that's because that was my narrative. So I know actually it's similar. I've said it before and we've talked about it, where kind of getting your sources of information for bodybuilding and bodybuilding science and the way to do things, it's good to have people that you followed. You might not agree with everything they say, but it's good because it tests you and it gives you another perspective of people maybe getting results doing it differently. It's not good to just be in your own like that's where you get in trouble, where you just have your one way and you forget everyone else. You're in your little bubble. So I guess the same maybe with the news. You can get multiple sources and hear different opinions, and kind of gives you a bit of a better, well-rounded perspective, at least. I don't know where to go from here.
It's all right. We are on our time anyway already. So once again, I just want to say thank you very much for everyone who commented the last time. It's very much appreciated that you are speaking up, letting us know that you're still around, and helping us just grow in general. Steve and I, we always want to spread the message, and we are not the most controversial people. I assume that we aren't. Otherwise, we would probably be already much, much bigger, because it's more attractive for the general audience, and also not drugged up. So that's why it's so appreciative for people then to stick around, listen to what it is that we have to talk about. Sometimes it's just rambling. Sometimes there are some, I think, bits and pieces that may be valuable as well. But I just appreciate you guys sticking around.
No, absolutely. I can only concur, and it's great to know people are listening and they're staying tuned, and it means we're saying something that's, whether or not it's entertaining, interesting, thought-provoking, and hopefully they just feel like they can also connect with us. And it's nice because we're in our own little bodybuilding niche, and I very much get a lot of my kind of social elements of that from online interactions. Yeah. So it's really nice to be able to do this and kind of connect with the audience in a sense. So yeah, I very much appreciate all those things, and I can just concur everything that you mentioned too.
Cool. Then guys, as always, thank you very much for listening. Leave a like, leave a subscribe. And as you may have realized, we always appreciate a good comment or just like a hi as well. It's like Steve said, if anyone, well, everyone who's listening now would say just hi, crazy how many comments there would be here.
Yeah, so, it would be a lot of comments.
Yeah. So guys, thank you very much. And I guess I'll speak to you soon. Cheers.
Cheers, guys. So I'm Steve Hall, founder of Revive Stronger and a coach of Revive Stronger.
My name is Pascal Steve. I'm the co-owner of Revive Stronger and also a coach, of course.
Revive Stronger has probably been going solidly for 3 years, roughly about 3 years.
Revive Stronger, to me, it is becoming kind of my child, my foster child. It's the gathering and getting together of like-minded people.
We've been expanding the coaching team, which is helping us help more people, but each coach can only help a certain number of people.
Right now, it's all over the place. We have YouTube, we have Facebook, we have Instagram, but there isn't that community aspect behind that.
And so the next step for us is developing a membership site.
So basically, we want to create a family and a community that is then benefiting from another.
A really cool community for people within our little niche is going to be a website.
They will get early access to our podcast.
You can access us, ask us questions.
The community aspect, we have a forum there. You can ask questions, but also you can log your journey.
There's also going to be courses on there.
Courses, presentations on different topics. Discount of past seminar footage. We will log our journey as well. We'll start vlogging.
We're going to have documentaries.
Our entire athletic journey. Furthermore, they get access to an exercise video library.
The exercises that we love for hypertrophy and maximizing hypertrophy, we're going to go through those in depth, telling you how to execute them.
We kept them concise and also mobile friendly so that you can watch them in between your sets.
I'm super excited to grow this community. The amount of value that we're going to be delivering is huge, and I'd love you to be part of it.
You will get so much out of that.
I'll see you inside.